righty. Make sure you can hear me. There we go. All right. Well, welcome to Mornings with Mike here on KTMP 1340. We appreciate you being along for the ride this morning. Today is the 19th of May, and it is a beautiful day outside. Not sure how long that's going to last. The forecast is kind of up and down a little bit, but it mostly looks like we're in for some rain and cold later on today. Probably a little bit of maybe some thunderstorms a little bit through the week. So we'll be talking about all that a little bit. But without any further ado, I just want to introduce my guest for this morning. We've got Chris Briscoe here from Crater Springs. If you don't know, the Homestead Golf Course, I believe it was 2 years ago, Chris?
Yes, 2 years ago.
Oh, let me turn your, there we go. Okay.
2 years ago.
Okay, perfect. So 2 years ago, the Homestead Golf Course changed their name to Crater Springs. Why did they do that, do you think, Chris? What was the main purpose there?
Well, the Crater has always been the icon of the Homestead Resort, and we got some new owners a couple of years ago who wanted to make the Crater a more significant part of the resort and market it in such a way. And they felt like if we could incorporate the Crater into the golf course, we could do that. So what we did is we built some new ponds and some new streams on number 9, number 18, and number 10. And we actually incorporated crater water from the Crater into those ponds and streams. And now the crater water actually flows through the golf course and is part of the golf course. And we feel like it's going to be a better deal for us long-term marketing the Crater, marketing the Homestead, and the golf course.
Gotcha. That's great. So the water comes right out of the Crater, flows into the golf course, and then flows around, and obviously you've got a lot of new ponds and things there. So that's neat. Now, you have made some pretty major changes. You've added the ponds, but there's some other things. There was this kind of somewhat iconic tree that kind of overlooked the 9th green and the 18th green, and now those are kind of separated out, and took the tree out and everything.
That's right. We actually had a double green on 9 and 18, and we had some big trees and sand bunkers that protected that green. But what happened is those trees got so big and the roots became so massive that they actually were causing problems. And so what we did is we got rid of the trees and the roots, and we got rid of the bunkers and replaced them with beautiful ponds and waterfalls. And the holes play very similar to the way they used to. It's just that the hazards are now water instead of sand and trees. And so it's a lot prettier to look at,
Sure.
But the playability is just about the same.
Yeah, it is absolutely beautiful, and I I would maybe argue that the playability is a little bit tougher. It's especially coming in on I believe it's the 9th green. You don't see that water initially, and so if you're not paying close attention, you can put it right.
Yeah, we're hoping to alleviate
quite
that by putting a fountain in that lake, actually,
you
you can a little better visibility.
Sure.
But you do need to clear the water, or else you're going to be wet.
Yeah, for sure. I've put plenty in there already. Well, I just wanted to bring you on, kind of talk about some of the major changes that you guys have made out there. What are some of the other changes besides the ponds right there at the 9th and 18th greens?
We've actually invested quite a bit of money into the golf course the last couple of years. We've built new tees on number 1, number 3, number 4, number 9, number 10, number 18, and we have reshaped some other tees. We've invested in a computerized irrigation system that we now have basically control over our whole irrigation system every head, so it should make the conditions a lot more consistent and playable.
Sure.
We've invested in new equipment, And we've also built all the water features we talked about. There's new water on 1, new water on 12, 9, 18, build a new water feature on 17. So there's been a lot done in the last 2 years, and we're really happy with the progress the golf course is making.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is beautiful, and it's been nice to see things become so much nicer and better taken care of. I know that as the course had experienced some financial difficulties and kind of with the economic collapse and maybe even a little bit before that, it had been a challenge to keep things up, and it's nice to see things just kind of.
Yeah, we're real excited with the new owners and the
Yeah.
commitment that they've made to get the golf course back to where it needs to be. So we're excited about the whole process.
That's great. So I saw an article a couple of weeks ago that I thought was pretty fascinating. When you think of Utah and what attracts people to Utah for tourism, generally you think skiing.
Skiing,
I mean,
yeah.
that's your thing, right? I mean, the greatest snow on earth. And it truly is. I mean, it's a great attraction here in Utah. But I was pretty fascinated to learn through this article that golf has become a major draw. Like one of the largest economic
Impacts. It makes a
Yeah,
huge economic impact.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to say. But I mean, like almost second to none now. In comparison to the various sporting events that we have here in Utah, skiing, all of the other outdoor, the boating and everything else, golf is like right there at the very top.
Yeah, the economic impact, I think they came up with about $800 million per year. And that was a study that the PGA, and I was involved in that also. We worked on it for about 2 years. We were trying to get golf industry to receive some of the credit that it deserves, and perhaps get some funding from the state to advertise it a bit more. But the $800 million impact is real, and even at the Crater Springs Golf Course, you look at a certain dollar amount that people pay to play golf, but then if you throw in the amount they spend on food, the amount they spend at the hotel, the amount that they spend in merchandise, the economic impact grows and grows.
Yeah. What do you think it is about golf in Utah particularly that draws so many people?
I think it's the municipalities and the state and the county and the city have stepped up and built golf courses that are playable and that are good for beginners, and that the prices are reasonable, and it's created a really strong golf environment. There's 112 golf courses, I believe, in Utah, and 80% of them are municipal, and they're very
Wow.
affordable, and there's no barriers to access, and so the game has grown quite well in Utah.
It's not a rich man's game anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's very accessible.
Not here.
No, yeah. Well, that's one thing that I have heard over and over from friends out of town. They expect to pay upwards of $80 to $100 for a round of golf most everywhere they go, and they come here and they pay $40 to $60 for a round of golf, and they just can't believe it. I mean,
Yeah, and it even gets better than that. You can play 9 holes for half of that, and
Right.
There's a lot of afternoon discounts, and there's just there's many ways in Utah to play golf without spending a lot of money.
Right. Now, I would typically think that the places that are warm throughout the year would be the bigger draw, but I was in Palm Springs a couple of years ago during the summer, and I wanted to play golf, and they said, so your tee time has got to be at 5:30 in the morning, and I said, I don't know if I want to wake up that early. And they're like, well, if you want to play golf in the summer in Palm Springs, you have to be up. They literally will just shut the course down at like 10 o'clock in the morning and then be shut down all day
Yeah.
because it's too hot. You can't play golf in the summer in a lot of places because it's too hot.
Yeah, to be careful what you wish for. Year-round golf in places like Palm Springs and St. George are they're year round for sure. You can play, but once you get into the summer, it's not very enjoyable. And most of those folks make their way up here where the golf is pleasant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's great. So you mentioned that you were maybe running a special right now for the KTMP listeners. What's going on here in May?
Well, this is our 25th anniversary of the golf course. We opened in 1990, so we've been there 25 years. This is our second year, I believe, as Crater Springs, our third year. And anyway, to celebrate the 25th anniversary, we are running $25 specials all year. Right now in May, after 12 o'clock, you can play 18 holes with a cart for $25.
Really?
Once we get into June, you have to play after 3. And then we get into July, there's other $25 specials that have different, parameters tied to them. But there's a lot of $25 specials to celebrate the 25th anniversary, and we want to let everyone know to come out, spend your $25, and I'll guarantee you it'd be well worth it.
Yeah, no kidding. That's fantastic. Well, yeah, get out there to Crater Springs and play the beautiful new course, see all the different changes that they've made. Mention that you heard it here on KTMP, and we really appreciate all the work you do, Chris, and how beautiful you've made that course, and thanks so much for coming in and telling us about it.
My pleasure to be here.
Keep those tourism dollars coming in, and yeah, thank you again.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it. All right, cool. Well, golf is. It did seem to used to be sort of an exclusionary sport, and I think they have done a fantastic job at bringing the sport to the masses, and they talk about professional athletes that make the most money, and typically these professional golfers are right there at the top of the list, because they obviously they make a decent amount of money golfing, but the tie-ins with all the products and things like that, because golf has become such a major sport and people are constantly buying new equipment and things like that, the advertising dollars that come into these athletes is just astronomically high, and but anyway, it has become a pretty common game, and most everybody I know has at least a set of clubs. They don't maybe necessarily play all the time, but it's everybody's got a set of clubs gathering dust in the attic or whatever. So get out there and enjoy some of the beautiful courses we have to offer here in the valley. We've got some incredible courses. Obviously we have our public courses in Wasatch and Soldier Hollow. In fact, the Wasatch Mountain State Park is the only state-owned course in the there's only 4 of them, I guess, but they're the only ones that actually turn a profit, and the rest have to be pretty heavily subsidized. But we're very lucky here in this valley to have access to those and to have it be affordable to go play a round of golf. And but I really appreciate Chris Briscoe coming on and talking a little bit more about the changes that they've made over there and some of their specials that they've got going on. $25 for golf is incredibly affordable, in my opinion. That's a great deal. So get out there and take advantage of that. All right, so the weather this week is we've got a cold front moving in, and the jet stream has dipped down below us a little bit, so we can expect to have some colder weather and a little bit of potentially some rain and thunderstorms. It's only a 20% chance of thunderstorms today with a high of 71, so that's not too bad. It'll actually warm up quite a bit tomorrow to 77, and the chance of thunderstorms will remain about the same, but then it goes up to 30%, and we'll probably see a little bit of that throughout the week. But by the weekend, Thursday, Friday will be high 70s and mostly sunny. So should be shaping up for another beautiful weekend, and so that'll be nice. Let's see. Let's take a look at traffic here real quick, see what's going on in the roads. looks like everything is in good shape, but let me refresh the thing here. Alrighty. Looks like your commute, if you're headed down through the canyons, you're going to be in good shape. Doesn't look like there are any major concerns that you need to worry about. So be safe out there. You know, we always talk about, I talk about for some reason a lot lately, being safe out on the highways and freeways and things like that. But in the last week here in the valley, we had a horrible tragedy. And we lost a great man. And these back roads that we have here in Heber, especially for those of us that have lived here for a long time, we've kind of been used to being comfortable to just kind of drive those back roads without being too concerned about running into anybody, because there just wasn't that many people here. A lot of our back road intersections don't have any signs. There are no stop signs or yield signs. They're just open intersections. And you know, for most of my life, you could drive those back roads and not really see another car. You know, maybe just sparingly you'd see somebody driving, but it just, you didn't have to be overly cautious. And we've grown so much, and there's so many more people here now, and those back roads are starting to fill up. And because those signs are still not there, the chance of hitting one of those intersections at the same time as somebody else has gone up dramatically. And we also have a tendency to drive maybe a little bit faster than we should on those back roads. If it's not marked, the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. I would venture a guess that the majority of people drive 5, 10, 15 miles an hour over that on those back roads. Last year, I was in a very small, rather insignificant fender bender in one of these roads, in one of these open intersections. It's a road I drove all the time. I was pretty comfortable driving that road without ever seeing anybody cross that intersection when I was there. And as I approach the intersection, you know, I give the obligatory look left, look right, look left to see if there's anybody coming. I looked left, didn't see anyone. Looked right, and as I entered the intersection and I turned my eyes back around to look to the left again, there was a car there. Essentially what had happened was somebody had been parked. They had parked one of those really big kind of utility vans. I mean, if it had seats, it'd have 15 passenger capacity. One of those big vans without any windows or anything. They had parked that along with one of those large enclosed utility trailers right behind it. But, you know, and they had parked it literally right on the intersection. I mean, right on the corner. And then to top it off, in front of that van was a large truck. So as I and this other car approached this intersection, neither one of us could see each other because that view was completely blocked. Luckily, we were both going pretty slow. I mean, we weren't going overly fast. And the resulting collision was relatively minor. But nevertheless, and just to clear my own name, I was on the right side, so I had the right of way. But ultimately, both of us, I mean, we were not as cautious as we needed to be, and that could have ended a lot worse than it did. And tragically, that very thing happened this last week, and we lost a very great a great man in our community, and it just breaks my heart that such a unnecessary and senseless tragedy took the life of such a good person, and we've really got to start paying closer attention to our surroundings. This new law about not being able to use our phones and things like that while we drive, it seems overly intrusive, and it seems like we're becoming more of a nanny state and things like that. But ultimately, those are the things that are distracting us from seeing what's around us. And we've really just got to be more aware of our surroundings, because even if you're a safe driver, it doesn't mean that somebody else is. And somebody else might be distracted. They might not. They might be distracted by a child. They might be distracted by the radio. They might be just otherwise sort of daydreaming as they drive, and not paying close attention. We really have to start driving more defensively on our own. Hopefully, the city and whatever other organizations, maybe it's UDOT, hopefully they will take some action to get some more signs on these back streets, so that we have signs that we can pay attention to. But even then, if you're distracted and you're not paying attention, I mean, if you're not going to stop for another car, you probably aren't going to stop for a sign either. And ultimately, that's not really the solution. The solution isn't speed bumps. The solution isn't traffic signs. The solution is we need to be more aware. We need to be more careful. We need to be paying attention to driving. And it's just horrible. Our hearts and prayers go out to the Clyde family in this difficult time. If you don't know, and I've talked a lot about. Well, I haven't talked that much on this show, but I've talked a little bit about what I do professionally. This is just a side gig that I do for fun, I guess. But professionally, I am an insurance agent, and I specialize in mostly life and health insurance. And I've talked a little bit about health insurance and a lot of the changes, and I'll continue to kind of keep you up to date on what's going on with the new healthcare law changes, and there'll be I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about as they start releasing more plan information and what's going on there. And health insurance is a big part of what I do, and I know a lot about it. I'm not particularly passionate about it. It's not something that it's something that I feel like I can help people with, and it's something that I feel like I'm good at. I do a good job at helping people with that, but my real passion in what I do professionally is life insurance. Health insurance obviously can make a difference in people's lives, but I really don't think that there's anything that quite compares to what life insurance does for people in tragedies. It's never about the money, because the last thing you're thinking about when you lose somebody is money. But the difference that it makes in a family's life, especially when they lose someone when they lose a mom or a dad, when there's still a bunch of young kids involved, when the family has a mortgage and they have car payments and they have credit card debt and they have plans to send their kids to school and send their kids on LDS missions or send them abroad or whatever, and all of a sudden mom or dad is taken from them. With life insurance, it allows that family to stay together, to maintain their lives as best as they possibly can without their loved one helping, whether it's bringing in money or whether it's all the things that they do around the house or whatever. It allows them to sustain that lifestyle, and it allows them to have continuity in their lives when they've gone through a tragedy. And the families that I've seen who have lost someone without life insurance, it's just horrific. Typically, they have to move. That's one of the first things that happens. They have to pack everything up, and they have to leave. Especially when there are young children involved, that means not only have they lost a parent, but now they're losing their friends. They're losing all of the things in their lives that would have given them support and comfort, and they're being, their whole lives are being upheaved and kind of just torn apart. They typically have to move. They might have to sell cars. They have to typically move in with a family member, with a parent or a grandparent or something like that. It's not only have they lost this critical person in their life, but everything else in their life gets totally turned upside down as well. Jobs are lost, homes are lost, lives are lost on top of that, and I get really passionate, I get really emotional about life insurance. I think it's just so critical that everybody has it. It's so inexpensive and relatively easy to get. They have really gotten things down to a science now, to the point where whether you may have some health issues, you may be overweight, or you may excuse me, you may have some congenital problem that you've dealt with, or maybe something that you have developed or contracted or whatever. There's very few situations where you'll be denied life insurance. It might be a little bit more expensive for one person over another, but in the grand scheme of things, it's very inexpensive, and it's just incredible what it can do to help a family when they lose somebody important. And we lost another great man just just a little over a week ago. A great man that was a leader of mine and a friend of mine, and just out of the blue, seemingly without any warning, he just passed away in the middle of his day, and that happens, unfortunately, sometimes. And most of us will live to the ripe old age of 75 or 85 or 95, but sometimes we don't, and I hope everybody realizes how important it is to have life insurance, even if it's just a little bit. I mean, I would love for everybody to go out and get as much life insurance as they're allowed to buy. We always say, if you were diagnosed with a terminal illness today, and I said, you've been diagnosed, but just today only, I'll let you buy as much life insurance as you possibly want. Typically people would say, well, give me everything you got. I mean, whatever it costs, I don't care. Just give me as much as you've got. I'm going to die in 2 weeks. If you'll sell it to me, I'm going to buy it. I would love for everybody to get as much as they should have and much as they're allowed to have, because there are limits. But even if you get $100,000, even if you get $50,000, even if you get, every little bit will make a huge difference to the family that you leave behind if that happens. And I mean, for for a 40-year-old who's relatively healthy, $100,000 would be like, I don't know, $10 a month or something. It's incredibly inexpensive. It's typically less than your favorite video streaming service or whatever to have some life insurance. So, I hope everybody takes these tragedies and recognizes a little bit of their own mortality. None of us are going to live forever, and makes the necessary plans to protect their families against those kind of tragedies. But it's just so hard to see people pass away when there's just no reason for it. And I hope the families of these great men recognize the impact those men have had on so many people's lives, and how great they were, and how their memories will live on, and I hope they're feeling a lot of comfort in that. All right, well, now that I'm done talking about depressing things, I want to move on to some more upbeat things. I keep wanting to get around to talking about where our local football players all ended up with their in the NFL draft and everything. So I want to zip through that real quick. I keep wanting to talk about it. It's like 2 weeks ago, and I never get around to it. But anyway, for BYU, they had their linebacker Kyle Van Noy drafted with the 40th pick. He was in the second round. Which is a great thing. I mean, 40th pick, that's fantastic. And he was picked up, and so he was drafted by the Detroit Lions, which is where all BYU fans will know very well that he will be playing with Ziggy Ansah, who played for BYU last year, and so they'll be playing together again. So now all of a sudden, you're going to start seeing lots of Detroit Lions merchandise and memorabilia popping up all over town. And I'm a big Green Bay Packers fan, and the Detroit Lions have been so inconsequential for such a long time that it's hard to even call them a rival anymore. But they are in the same division, and hopefully, at least for Detroit fans, hopefully these added BYU players will make a difference for them, and they'll start coming into relevance again. But it's kind of fun as a Packers fan to just sort of revel in how bad they are. Spencer Hadley was taken by so Kyle Van Noy was the only player from BYU drafted, but a number of their other oh, I apologize, I'm having all kinds of problems today. That didn't help. Spencer Hadley was picked up as an undrafted free agent with the New Orleans Saints, as well as Cody Hoffman with the Redskins, Manu Maliuna with the Giants, and Daniel Sorensen got picked up by the Chiefs. For the University of Utah, they had two players drafted. Their top draft pick was Keith McGill at the 116th pick by the Oakland Raiders. He'll be joining former Ute Tony Bergstrom there. And then Trevor Riley was also drafted by the New York Jets with the 233rd pick in the 7th round. They had four other players picked up. Anthony Denham was picked up as an undrafted free agent with the Texans. Jake Murphy was taken by the Raiders. Tenny Palapoy is with the Chargers, and Carl Williams is with the Raiders as well. And then Utah State had safety Maurice Alexander picked at with the 110th pick by the St. Louis Rams, and Nevin Lawson was drafted by the Detroit Lions with the 133rd pick. Man, you'll really see lots of these Detroit Lions fans start to pop up out of nowhere. Jake Dowdy, the linebacker, was picked up in free agency by my Packers. Joey DiMartino was picked up by the Chiefs. Tyler Larson by the Dolphins. AJ yeah, I'm not going to get that by the Ravens. Man, these guys have some crazy names. Difficult to say. Another player picked up by the Jaguars, and Tay Glover Wright was picked up by the Falcons. So that's great, though. It's going to be fun to watch those guys in the NFL and see what they can accomplish. And Utah, the state of Utah has a great tradition of sending some fantastic players to the NFL. So that'll be fun to watch and pay attention to. The NBA is now in their conference finals. After an incredible start to the playoffs, that first round was just so fascinating, so much fun to follow and to watch. And so many of those matchups went the full 7 games, and then true to form, the NBA made sure that all their popular teams won. and then the second round, of course, was just a joke. Most of those games went 4 or 5 games at the most, and most of those matches, and now here we are with the same matchups basically that we had last year in the conference finals, and there's just me personally, I mean, unless you're a big Miami Heat fan or an Indiana Pacers fan, or San Antonio or Oklahoma City, there's just not really any reason to watch, because I don't really want any of those teams to win. I guess it might be all right for the Indiana Pacers if they could beat the Heat, but they did win Game 1, so we'll see what happens there. A couple other interesting things going on right now in Utah in particular. Let's see, that's not Utah, but I thought that was pretty interesting anyway. So in California, and I don't know exactly if this lady had looked for any other options here, but apparently a mother went to her daughter's school, had her point out who her bully was, and then went up to the bully. This woman was 30 years old, went up to the 11-year-old boy, grabbed him by the throat, and started threatening him because he was bullying her daughter. I certainly understand the emotion behind it, but that was not handled well. I don't know if she had ever talked to any of the teachers beforehand, or if she had looked for any other avenues to deal with the situation. The article doesn't say exactly what kind of bullying had been done to her daughter, but she felt pretty passionately about it, and now she's facing charges of felony child abuse. I'm really torn on this whole bullying thing. I really don't know exactly how to feel. Obviously, physical bullying for me is just absolutely 100% inappropriate and shouldn't ever be allowed to happen. The emotional side is a harder thing for me. I don't know exactly how to feel about how it should be handled. All these municipalities are starting to pass all these laws against bullying and making it a specific crime and things like that. I don't know how I feel about that. I want to talk more about bullying, and here in a few weeks we'll have a school counselor on, and he'll talk to us about what's going on in the schools and how the bullying is being conducted, and what they're trying to do to fight that, because it is a problem in a lot of ways, and the social media aspect of things and what kids are able to do to each other now it's a lot different than what it was when I was a child. So hopefully he'll be able to help me understand it better and come to a firmer conclusion on the way it should be handled. But you know, no one deserves to be treated poorly, but I also have a hard time with passing laws to make it against the law to be a jerk. that's just hard for me. I don't feel like that's our place to tell people that they're not allowed to be a jerk. But so our next guest is here. I want to invite Nate Eaton, who is the manager of the Zions Bake branch. And he's going to come and talk to us about the new building that they're building, and then just sort of a little bit about you know, the state of things from a banking perspective here in the Valley. So yeah, take a seat right there, Nate, and pull that microphone over to you so you're not hunched over. You don't need the earphones. That'll just confuse you. Are you comfortable there?
Yeah, good morning.
All right, turn on your microphone there. All right, thank you for coming in. We really appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So you are the new branch manager, or what's your title over there?
Yeah, my title with Zion's public title is vice president, and
They've got a lot of vice presidents.
They do, yeah. A lot of people watching over your money to keep it safe.
That's good.
Yeah, and I am the bank manager here of the Heber Financial Center at Zion's Bank.
Great. And you took over for the long-tenured Lyle Gertsch.
Yes.
He retired and decided to start traveling the world and serving people, so he's off doing good things like that, and now you're in his place here in Heber.
We all have fond thoughts of Lyle. I've known Lyle ever since I was a little boy, and he sure did a wonderful job during his tenure with Zion's Bank.
Well, that's great. He was a good man. We're yeah, now we get to share him with other parts of the world. But all right, so you have been here at this branch now for how long?
It's been about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. And when did they start talking about building this new building and everything?
We've really always kind of had it in the back of our minds that we need to be able to expand, and especially in this market. We've been here, we've been part of this community for such a long time, and part of the problem is leaving that wonderful building that we're in right now. It's the historic Abram Hatch home, the founder of Heber. It's a beautiful building. I don't know, those that haven't seen it really should get in and take a look. The attention to detail is phenomenal. I mean, even to the level that the hinges on that beautiful old building have decorations. There was no expense spent that didn't bring beauty to that home, and it's sad to leave. We've just outgrown it simply. Ever since the late 60s, we've been accumulating market share and gaining and garnering trust in the local community, and as such, we've got to be able to expand with the community and be able to provide them better services.
Sure. Yeah, isn't it incredible how ornate those homes used to be?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I mean, when we build a house now, it's just like, you know, put MDF on everything, and I don't need any frills. Just put it up so I have somewhere to live.
Sure.
Back then, when they built a house, I mean, and all that stuff's hand carved. I mean, it's not like they had machines that ran it through and made all those little frills and stuff like that. I mean, they were doing that all by hand, and no, it's great that was so well preserved. So what's the plan? I mean, what are they going to do with that building now?
Well, that's a great question. I think that we're still looking at a lot of different options. I personally have been accumulating a list of people that are interested in purchasing the building, and it is substantial. We have a lot of local interest, and it is a building that's part of the historic registry. I don't believe that Scott Anderson has made up his mind as to what is going to happen to the building. If he has, then I haven't been privy to those discussions. I do know that we're going to preserve it and make sure that it's well taken care of. We do care for it. We've cared for it since since the late 60s, and we
Scott.
feel stewards of it.
Scott Anderson is the
President and
president
CEO of Zions
Zions
Bank.
Okay.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Zions Bancorp, which encompasses several other affiliate banks, the president of Zions Bancorp is Harris Simmons. His mother, Tibby, is the original purchaser of that building back in the 60s, and so it's been in the family for a long time.
Interesting. So not quite sure what you're going to do with that, but you are going to have a new building here shortly. When's that going to open?
We are very excited for that building. Right now, the brick on the outside, I'm sure you've seen, has been taking a little bit longer than we had hoped, but we're using local quarries, the attention to detail. We're trying to really have it fit into this community. The red rock has come from the local quarries, and we ran into a problem with some of the corners and the corner cuts, and so it's taking a little bit longer, but we anticipate being in that building at the early August to mid-August range.
Oh, so it'll still be a while.
Yeah, a couple months.
Gotcha. Well, it'll certainly be a lot nicer looking than the rundown a vacant lot that was there before. So
we hope so. We hope it's been that shopping center, kind of downtown Heber, from time to time got a little bit tired looking with vacancies and for rent signs and the older buildings. While it's sad to see some of those things leave, it's nice to have a company like Zions that's willing to invest that much into the community to make sure that it's not just about us, but that it'll fit into the bank block across the street with the city buildings and offices, and really be a part of our community.
Sure. My favorite part of the whole process was when they tore down that little section of the old buildings there, and they started digging down underneath, and there was like old rock walls and things like way down in the ground
passageways
that they were pulling up and stuff like that. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, interestingly enough, a lot of cities in Utah and other places, from what I understand, but here in Heber specifically, I know that we had tunnels that went underneath Main Street to some different buildings, and I'm not sure if it was a protection or exactly what the reasoning was, but yeah, those have since been filled in.
Yeah.
A lot of the excavation of some of the buildings of Main Street really kind of filled in all of that. But it is interesting to see what you can pull out of the ground that's been there for a long time.
Yeah, all those. I mean, it was the old, it was the old red sandstone, and it was just all, I mean, there was walls and things like that were down there as they were digging it up and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing how that can stand the test of time.
Yeah.
They built things very, very well.
Yeah, I'm sure it was all for prohibition. Well, that's great. So, the biggest reason we wanted you to come on was to talk to us about the state of the county, what's going on in our valley from a banking perspective. I mean, people buying a lot of new homes, they're building a lot of new homes. You guys doing a lot of commercial lending? What's going on?
Yeah, we really are. It's a great time in the economy right now. I did come prepared with some statistics I'd love to be able to cover.
All right, lay it on us.
Okay. Well, why don't we start with the Zions Bank Consumer Price Index. So what we do as a bank is we've tried to really mirror and understand our communities in which we operate. One of those things is with the Zions Consumer Price Index. And what we do is we actually take a sample population. So what that means is if we find that X amount of people represent Wasatch County, we will go after those people, poll the population, and get answers to some specific questions so that we can understand what's happening in our community. What that does from a banking standpoint is it allows us to lend money where money is needed, maybe be a little bit more cautious where things may be going awry, but overall, for the last little while, things are going really, really well. So speaking about some specifics as far as categories, if you look at the total expenditures that your average consumer, what they spend monthly. You mentioned housing. Housing is about 34.8% of a person's monthly wallet, how much they have to take out for housing.
Okay.
And what we anticipate, or I guess what consumers have anticipated, is that they believe that housing costs will actually go up. And over the past 12 months, we've seen that increase by about 1.2% from, and granted, this is opinion, this is consumer sentiment, where they're feeling the burden of spending money. So housing actually isn't the biggest problem. In the national economy, you're looking closer to 2.5%. Some of the areas where you're going to see the biggest change is actually in education and communication. We saw a 2.8% increase there. Recreation, believe it or not, is a 3.3% increase. Food, everyone has to eat, so we try and track both food at home and food away if people are going out to eat. And we've actually seen a slight decline in the prices of certain foods, fruits and vegetables, and it's gone down by 0.1%.
That's interesting, because you expect, I mean, heck, when I go to the grocery store anymore, it seems like things are a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is. I mean, perception is kind of our own reality. If we go in, we feel like we're spending more, it's more of a burden.
Right.
And it gets a little frustrating. But the cost of food away, it usually accounts for about 7.1% of a person's budget. So we're on average spending over 7% just eating at restaurants.
Wow.
And that has gone up, but it's not substantial either. It's actually only a 0.2% increase in April. That's actually from March to April, let me clarify.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
while it's small, it is going up quite a bit. Clothing, transportation, medical care, I can talk about any of those that you might find interesting. Transportation was interesting to me. Costs increased by 0.7% from March to April. Now, a lot of people think that that's gas. Usually that's the thing that we feel the biggest burden.
Right.
And it's actually not. The majority of costs are coming up with new and used vehicles.
Gotcha.
So gas was a slight increase, but a lot of people are getting excited for the summer months, and they seem to be willing to spend a little bit more for transportation, to get out, to go around. And it's actually proportionate, nearly proportionate, with the decrease that we've received in the cost of natural gas, so to fuel our homes, heat our homes. And that also makes sense since we're coming out of the winter months.
Sure. Yeah. Now, Utah did see its largest increase in gas prices. Let's see. The average cost of gas in Utah in April was $3.32, and now the average price is $3.60.
Yeah, over the past 12 months, it's gone up quite a bit still.
Yeah, that's just, that's one of those things that just drives me crazy, because I don't feel like it has anything to do with supply and demand. But it was a record increase, I think, in Utah. But yeah, some of those things, man, we get hit hard sometimes.
It is interesting considering how much oil and natural gas we produce here.
Right.
I had the opportunity of managing the Vernal Financial Center for quite some time, right in the heart of the basin.
Right.
And interestingly enough, in spite of all the drilling, the cost of gasoline is actually a little bit more expensive out there. The main reason is because of the high level of paraffin, the waxy material. We actually don't use a lot of our own local oil to make gasoline. More of it's used for petroleum products.
Oh, interesting.
Lip balms,
Sure.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But across the board, as a nation, over the last 12 months, transportation has increased 1.5%. In the Wasatch Front, over the last 12 months, and while, yes, it has gone up a little, it's kind of like a roller coaster, and so we're just taking a 12-month snapshot. Believe it or not, transportation costs have gone down 2.2%. over the
Interesting.
last 12 months.
Yeah. So, what are you guys doing? Well, I mean, how are things looking commercially? I mean, we have a lot of new businesses coming into town. What's going on there?
Commercial is one of the most exciting areas, actually. We're still there doing a lot of lending, and actually, let's talk about small business for a second, because I think that this really captures a lot of the business sentiment. In Utah, interestingly enough, 97% of businesses qualify as small businesses.
Okay.
Now, what that means is they have fewer than 500 employees.
Right.
So these aren't the big movers and shakers, but think of that population base. 97% of all the businesses here are small businesses.
Right.
So they're thriving, and it's an important piece. But in the past, a lot of those same business owners haven't felt like they had access to funds. That was one of their biggest frustrations. How am I going to grow? How am I going to survive if it's a downturn? How am I going to meet payroll? A lot of people, if they have their products out and they don't get paid for a substantial amount of time, 90 days on some invoices, 120 days, it's really difficult to keep that cash flow cycle going so that they have enough cash coming in all of the time to be able to pay their employees.
Right.
Now, 63% of small business owners said that they had setbacks getting started. That was actually conducted by Ewing, Marion, and Kaufman Foundation and LegalZoom in one of their surveys. So 63%, they're frustrated getting started, but only 28% of that population cited it as a lack of credit or a lack of cash from banks or other funding sources as the primary reason on why they're frustrated in getting started. 28% of their population, I mean, that's a small number. That's a huge decrease, in fact, from 2012, when 45% of the issues related to small businesses came from not being able to get access to funds.
So lending is increasing. More and more people are able to get the funding that they need to start businesses and keep their businesses going.
And not just from a bank standpoint. These are the true business owners. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Sure.
These are the people that actually feel it. And they're the ones that are stating the decrease compared to 2012. And granted, we were coming out of a pretty big recession where banks weren't excited and thrilled to throw a lot of money into the market and a lot of money into businesses.
Or any at all. It was pretty bad there for a little while.
Yeah, well, part of it, too, is a lot of the new regulations. Sometimes
Right.
it's tough to get money out in the way that the federal government would like it to have it hit the sidewalk.
Of course. But things are getting better, though, hopefully. And
They sure are.
And we're seeing increases in mortgages and things like that. More people buying homes. I mean, it seems like the demand is starting to outweigh the supply a little bit here in the valley.
It is. As you can see, we're actually running out of property a little bit faster, which is a good thing. It's exciting to see the changes on Main Street in Heber. While it was sad, I grew up in that old high school. I watched my brothers play basketball there.
Yeah.
It is exciting. It is exciting to be able to see the changes and us moving forward and adjusting as an economy. And I'm excited to see what's going to go in. Last week they released some different lots, and the lots are pricey, but the economy shows that they'll go quickly.
Can you help me understand, because weren't they initially asking how much were they asking for that property before? Do you remember?
I don't remember the specifics, but I do know now from the pamphlets that I saw, unless I'm mistaken, that it's about $340,000 an acre.
Right.
And it's about 8 acres that are available, and I don't believe that's too much to pay for a nice Main Street property where, Forbes has us listed to maybe double in population by 2020.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like the county is anticipating, I think something like 60,000 people or something by 2030 or something.
It's a scary thought,
yeah,
huh? Where we're going to fit all these people.
I can see where they'd live. It's just where are they going to go infrastructure-wise? Where are they going to drive? I mean, Main Street already is Anyway, but yeah, it is good though that the economy is seems to be recovering, at least here. And jobless claims are down. I really hesitate to use these unemployment numbers because I don't feel like they accurately portray what's really going on. But jobless claims are down at least, and there are some good economic indicators for us, at least here in the valley, here in the state. So hopefully that trend will continue, and hopefully it just won't get out of hand. It seems like property values have rebounded almost to a point where it's like, are they going to crash again? they're getting awfully high. So, but anyway, hopefully we maintain steady, healthy, manageable growth, and it doesn't get out of control. So
yeah, it's interesting to see to go onto the MLS to see the amount of inventory that's out there, because in 2008, in 2009, 2010, all of a sudden we had tons and tons of inventory. Banks own properties.
Half the city.
Yeah, especially in our area, being a bedroom community, a little bit more of a bedroom community than a lot of cities, a destination location. A lot of people have second homes here, and so when people get into tough times, and thinking logically, I guess it makes sense, the first thing to go when a person gets in a tough time isn't going to be their first home. It's not going to be their primary home. It's going to be a secondary home.
Right.
And so we may have taken a little bit of a hit in 2008, 2009 in real estate values. I know that, they almost got cut in half in a lot of cases on high-end properties. But the exciting thing, like you mentioned, Mike, is where we've come and where we are today. So interestingly enough, you mentioned employment and kind of the feeling of the economy. Speaking specifically about that Zions Bank Consumer Attitude Index, the same population of Utahns, talking about employment, we had 27% of the respondents claim that they felt that jobs were plentiful right now. 53% said that there's not so many jobs as prior. But 20%, so the lowest of the population, believe that jobs are hard to get right now.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I mean, 1 out of every 5 think that it's still a little bit tough, but the vast majority of us are actually feeling a lot better about the community.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sentiment definitely means a lot. So we're out of time. I feel bad we didn't have more time for you, but we'll definitely have you back here in the future, and we appreciate you coming on and telling us a little bit about what's going on from a banking perspective.
Thanks, Mike. If I may mention one other thing.
Yeah, please do.
We have a program called Traveling Treasures, and it gives you another reason to come visit us in August when we open. The Traveling Treasures program is a partnership from the Utah Museum of Natural History. What happens is they bring in all sorts of exhibits, fossils of all kinds, and it's kind of a hands-on activity. We have an opportunity for kids and families to come in to make plasters of fossils, to dig for fool's gold, and to see some really old treasures, and we're grateful to bring that to our community. So please come, feel free to stop by and say hi and participate, and check out the new building.
That'll be in August.
It will. Yeah, we're anticipating.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll have you on before you guys open. You can tell us about it a little bit more. Thank you so much, though, Nate Eaton, the bank manager here at Zions Bank. Appreciate you being on with us today, and thank you for coming in, taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, well, that's our show for today. Thanks so much for listening. This has been Mornings with Mike. My name is Mike Hewlett, and just wanted to make sure everybody knows the Chamber Luncheon is tomorrow. This weekend we have Wild West Days over at the Heber Valley Railroad, and also the Relay for Life car wash fundraiser over at Days Market. So lots of interesting, fun things to do, and hopefully you have a great rest of your day. It's a beautiful day out there, so go and enjoy it. Thanks so much.